say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? We thank you for joining us in this interaction this evening of your time, and allow us to begin by laying down a foundation on a particular subject that is of now paramount importance in the realization, the recognition of the consciousness of your society. The idea now is that there is a growing awareness of the existence of what you have termed us to be extraterrestrial in your society's consciousness. The idea that your planetary civilization is not the only civilization within what you call the physiological universe. Now, the idea of your awareness of our existence is not something that we wish to underline because it is more important than the existence of your own civilization. We are not saying that you should be aware of us in order to increase the benefit in your society. The idea is that your society, like any society, is absolutely self-contained and has all the abilities it needs to create that society to be anything you, its inhabitants, desire it to be. And you do not need us to interact with you in order to be able to create your society to be what you want it to be. However, because your society is now beginning to explore the idea of leaving your world and of thinking in global terms and in exploring different levels of consciousness, you are now beginning to break through levels and barriers and definitional systems of reality that you have not considered before. And in breaking through those levels, in exploring those realms that you have, as you say, hitherto left unexplored as a mass consciousness, you are now beginning to encounter that there are other consciousnesses that have already explored those levels in their own way. This does not mean that just because other consciousnesses have explored those levels, by the way, that they are all used up and there's nothing left for you. The idea is that each and every civilization will explore those levels, those expansions of awareness in their own way. And every civilization is unique and will contribute something unique in its exploration of the same levels of awareness and existence. Therefore, recognize that as you expand globally and unify yourselves into what you might call a one-world idea, and as you expand not only on your world, but off your world into the universe, you will begin to encounter, not only physiologically, but also on all levels of consciousness, the existence of other civilizations and other awarenesses, similar to your own, different in many ways, but similar to your own. Similar in the sense that we all possess, like you, an unlimited capacity for curiosity, an unlimited capacity for desire to know ourselves, and an unlimited capacity to explore and discover all that every being in creation was created to be. For there is no end, at least that we have found, to that exploration, and there never shall be, as far as our perception has taught us. The idea, however, is that now, because you are beginning to explore these ideas as a society, it can no longer be, shall we say, kept from you that there will be and are other civilizations you will come in contact with. Now, the way that this is being undertaken at this time is mostly through the auspices of communication of the nature that you are experiencing right now, because it allows several things to occur in the easiest possible manner for you. It allows you to make up your own mind as to whether or not the information you are receiving is something that you want to have in your life. For we have perceived that many individuals upon your planet, for one reason or another, and we are not making a judgment of this, but simply for one reason or another, do not want to know that we exist. There are many investments, many belief systems that many of you have made in your society. And to allow yourselves to begin to realize that there are other civilizations with other belief systems may seem to many of you to be a threat to the system of belief that you have been brought up with. We have no intention of forcing our systems of belief upon you, for this is not our way, and it is not the way that would allow us to expand as a society. We would be limiting ourselves if we chose to limit you, to force you to see in any particular perspective that is not a perspective of your own choice, and we do not desire to limit ourselves in that way. So the idea will be presented in this fashion, so that you do not have to believe that we are who we say we are, so that you can make up your own mind as a society, based on the information alone as to whether or not you desire, as a society, to have interaction with us. For you can decide not to, and that will be up to you. We do perceive, however, that it is usually most likely that a society that has reached the level of evolution, where it is beginning to explore all the different things you are now beginning to explore about consciousness and the universe, will generally desire to continue to expand in that exploration and seek to co-join with other societies like itself. So we present to you the opportunity to interact with us in this way, to allow you to see our perspective of the route that we have taken, and the ideas that we perceive you are now exploring, to share with you how we have explored them, so that if our methodologies can work for you, or can inspire you to create the methodologies that will work for you, that you will undertake these methodologies to expand yourself and be a willing co-joiner and co-creator with us. In joining with us, it is our perception and our perspective that will expand us as well. So that together with all the other societies with whom we have co-joined in what we call the association of worlds, we can explore further the infinite creation. For we see all of you, as we see any being within creation, as simply one more way that the infinite has of expressing itself. Do understand, we learn many things from you as well in these interactions. It is not, as we say, a one-way street. There are no one-way streets. Everyone is a teacher and a learner simultaneously, and that is why every being in reality is an equal sharer. Now, the idea of our existence has been known to your society for quite some time, and we have spoken to many members of your society about the idea that what you call your governments have been very well aware of us for quite some time in your terms of counting, for at least what you would call 4 of your decades. But the idea of your society structure, the way you have created what you call your governments to be, has created what you call a suppression of that information because of the fear that too many changes would occur in your society that would lead to instability, what you have termed anarchy, or chaos, or fear, or panic. We respect this point of view, and therefore have agreed, at least on what you would call a non-physical, telepathic, unconscious level with many members of your society, to interact with you gently, slowly, to allow your society bit by bit to get used to the idea that you are not the only civilization around. So that soon you will be used to the idea sufficiently enough so that when we are then allowed by the state of your consciousness to make physiological appearances in blatant ways, you will not be shocked, and you will not think that your world has to come crashing down just because another world, in that sense, has landed upon it. The idea simply is that your government, once again, is very well aware of our existence and has been for quite some time. All it would take for an acceleration, for a release of the information of their knowledge, is for you, what you call your public, to begin to communicate with your governments and allow them to understand that you are ready to receive the information of our existence, again, not because it makes us seem any greater than you, but simply because you are ready now to accept the idea of your own equality, because you are now ready to accept the idea that you can function in harmony with each other. And in that sense, therefore, you are ready to function in harmony with other whole worlds, even as you become one world yourselves. Now, we do not mean that when you communicate and open up lines of communication to your government about the idea of what they know and what they have kept from you, that you must do this in an attacking fashion, in an accusatory fashion. We do not mean that you go and say, oh, big bad government. No. For they are only what you have created them to be, and in a sense, you are your government. For they are only what you can support them to be, and they are only reflective of exactly how much responsibility you are willing to take for your own lives. So you cannot blame them for being what they are in that sense. It does not excuse any individuals in any walk of life who act outside of their integrity, but we are not saying in that sense that even if they have been acting outside of their integrity, that They deserve, in that sense, to be accused by you. For accusation is also only an expression of lack of integrity. You have in your biblical literature a phrase that says, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." This does not mean that you will be judged from outside. It means that all vibrations seek their own level. And if you start judging others and invalidating them, then you become the same vibration of invalidation and will be judged accordingly. In that sense, you will place yourself on the same level, and therefore no one gets ahead. The idea, therefore, is when you open up lines of communication to your government, should you desire to do so, for you may not, but if you desire to do so, to let them know that you now know that extraterrestrial consciousness exists, that you do wish to know what the government knows about it, then you can, in opening up these lines of communication, be loving about the idea, be supportive about the idea, and remind them that the idea of their sharing that information with you does not have to be seen as a loss of their power, which is the way some of them see it, but as a gaining of everyone's self-empowerment, which is the whole idea we are communicating to all of you at this time, to reflect back to each and every one of you your individual self-empowerment. We do not want your power. We do not want to run your lives. We have lives of our own. Thank you. We are very busy. You have your own lives, and you have chosen those lives. And we are simply here to remind you that you have all the capacity necessary to create those lives to be whatever you desire them to be. So that together, hand in hand, as you say, we can be, we can share, we can explore as equals. For this is how we desire to interact with you. Not as betters, as equals. As children within the infinite, who shall play and learn and grow together forever. For this is what gives us joy, and this is what we get out of interacting with all of you. Make no mistake about it. We are doing this for ourselves as well. For we love you, and we wish to join with you, and we wish you to join with us, but only if it is your decision. For only as equals will we be able to expand in the way that will truly allow us to learn freely. Together we can do this, but it is up to you. It is your world, and we cannot tell you what to do. But I do thank you very much for the opportunity to interact with you in this way at this time. For through these interactions, we can form a merging and a blending, and day by day and bit by bit, make it highly probable that in very short order we will be able to interact physically, freely, with your world. But not until the invitation is complete. And the invitation from you to us will be complete when you begin to function as one world yourself. Now we perceive this can happen at a much more accelerated rate than many of you have been taught to believe is possible. It is our perception, though of course this can change, because all energy changes, but it is our perception that within what you call the next 3 decades of your time of counting, no longer than that, your world will have laid the foundation for complete world unity. And well within the next 3 of your decades, we can begin free interaction with you. We perceive that long before your 3 decades, your world will begin to realize, fully realize, that we exist. But the interactions will not happen more blatantly until each and every one of you begins to act as if you live in a world of peace and harmony. The vibration of a world out of harmony is too unlike our vibration for us to be comfortable in your sphere of existence. We cannot meet, we cannot merge comfortably until our vibrations are much more harmoniously aligned. This is only physics. This is only mechanics that we are discussing at this point. But these vibrational changes come from the heart. They come from your desire. They come from your conviction and your willingness to live the dream you all, according to what we have heard, say you want upon your planet. It is more than talk. It is doing. Because you are physical beings in a physical universe. And the doing is what counts. The living as if you believe what you say is what counts. We recognize that because of the way your society has been structured, because of the habitual rituals that many of you have been brought up to believe, the idea of doing what you really believe you want to do sometimes is very fearful for many of you, or seems to be beyond your capacity to understand how this can be done. Seems to be something, how do you say, unrealistic. Well, this is what we are here to discuss. The definitions themselves that make it seem as if harmony and peace is an unrealistic way to live. The idea that you have been brought up with, that suffering and struggling must be a part of daily life, or you are not facing reality. These are only definitions. And we are here to reflect back to you, perhaps why those definitions seem to have so much hold upon you, and how you can change those definitions into whatever you prefer them to be to get the reality you want. Because even some of your own physicists now are beginning to realize what you have called for so long, your physical reality, your solid physical reality, is actually only what you define it to be, and that's it. That physical reality does not empirically exist apart from the definition you give it, that it is wholly created by the faculty of your imagination. These things we are here to reflect to you. In whatever way, shape or form your imagination decides to make use of the information, that is perfectly correct. There is no one way to understand any of these interactions. There is no one idea we will force upon you. If there were only one way to realize the self as a part of the infinite, there would only be one person. Look around. As many people as there are in existence throughout creation, that is as many ways as there are to recognize the self as an aspect of the infinite. And they are all correct. So the idea simply is that this interaction will add to the overall number of ways that each and every one of you have to realize your full potential as beings, as aspects of creation. And if we have at any point and in any way been able to be of assistance in lighting, in igniting that spark of creation within each and any one of you, then we thank you for that opportunity. And we thank you for your willingness to share. And we thank you for choosing to function as ambassadors of your society, because that's what you are right now, make no mistake about it. For there are many, many, many listening on this side that are representative of many societies. And I thank you for allowing me to function in this way, through the physical channel, to communicate with you as a representative of my society. In return for the joy and the gift that you have given to us in allowing us to experience you, I will ask you now, how may I serve you? You!
Greetings to you with love.
And to you, unconditionally. Do speak up so that all may share.
From your last communication we had together in this area,
Okay.
there seems to be a correlation between the electromagnetic field of the Earth
Okay.
and the collective unconscious, the racial memory, and the Akashic records.
Oh, yes.
In order to communicate more intimately with the all that is,
Okay.
or God as all that is also called,
Okay.
within us,
Okay.
is it not necessary to give the collective unconscious the slip, so to say, and to go beyond it?
Well, in a sense, but all of this is simply semantics. The idea of giving the collective unconscious the slip is just a matter of focus. It's just a matter, in a sense, of purpose. Just a matter, in a sense, of attitude. The idea is that if you can become very personal in your communications within yourself, you will be able to circumvent, in any way, shape, or form, any effect the mass collective unconscious would have upon your individuality. The idea is that if you can live as fully as you can in the present, in the now, rather than focus so highly on the idea of the separations of levels, of the separations of time and space, then that living, that focus in the here and now, in the absolute present, will be the doorway, the gateway through which you will touch all of the infinite. For do understand, it is to some degree, at least from my point of view, a slight contradiction in terms to say that you want to be in touch with all that is and somehow give a part of all that is the slip. The idea is not an exclusive one. The idea is an inclusive one. The way you become intimate with all of it is to allow all of it to have a place within you. So you can look at it from this perspective. The collective unconscious can be, quote-unquote, gotten around by simply allowing it to fit within you, or allowing you to fit within it in whatever represents its natural place, so that you are not out of alignment with it, in a sense, or so that it is not out of alignment with whatever you perceive your vibration to be. By simply harmonizing with it, by knowing that it is going to work with you in a beneficial and positive way, that it is not going to represent a block or a resistance to you, by not defining it that way, then you will work hand in hand harmoniously with it, and you will pass not around it, so to speak, but actually through it, to expand fully to the rest of all that is. You must include every aspect of all that is in order to truly be in touch with all that is. You cannot circumvent any aspect of it, or you are not truly, by definition, in touch with the whole. Is this making some sense so far?
Yes, it does. I thought that we have been, or conscious being has been rather the prisoner of the collective unconscious.
No. Now, I understand what you mean. But the idea of being a prisoner of the collective unconscious is only because you have, as a society, as a collective, defined that that's what the collective unconscious does to an individual. It is not the fact that the collective unconscious exists. It is not the relationship itself of the collective unconscious to the individual that creates the seeming prison. It is the definition you have of the collective unconsciousness relationship to an individual that creates the apparent prison. Not the reality itself, the definition of the idea. You understand?
Yes.
So if your realization comes to you that the collective unconscious functions as, or can function as, a prison for an individual consciousness, then hold that thought. Say, wait a minute. That's only one way to look at the idea. Why must I believe that the collective unconscious must function as a prison? Can I believe, can I define it in any other way? Then when you are holding that idea, re-examining that idea, finding another way to define it, and then do, in fact, create a new definition, you will then, in that creation of a new definition, create a new relationship between the collective unconscious and the individual you are, the individual that has created a new definitional relationship. From that point forward, the interaction between the collective unconscious and the individual you are will be a supportive one, not a restrictive one. All depends on how you define it. It isn't empirically restricting. Only the definitions your society has created make it seem to be. Understand?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to enlarge on this and to have a better appraisal of what it is.
All right. But if I may remind you, remember, it isn't anything until you define it. And whatever you define it to be, for you, that's what it is. There is no one background reality against which to measure ideas for their validity. The idea you have, the perspective you have of it, is the reality you will experience. There is only one foundation, one basic that is common to everyone, and that is simply that you exist. There is only one, shall we say, framework in which that foundation exists, and that is what you put out is what you get back. That's it. Everything else is the product of how you define it. Every reality you experience, even if you have, for a while, shall we say, agreed to fall into the collective agreement of any one particular universal reality, what you are referring to as the collective unconscious of your society, even if you have fallen into that for a while, the only way you can maintain an experience of that reality is by continuing to define it in the same way you always have. The minute you change what your definition of your relationship to that collective unconscious is, that is the reality, and that is what the collective consciousness is in your reality, which is distinct from everyone else's reality, just as real, just as true. So there is no one reality that you will discover it to be. Whatever you define it to be is what it is at any given moment. Does that clarify the idea?
Yes, it does. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you so very much. Sherry! You!
There are rooms on Mars.
And
Can you tell us a comment on this and what happened? What will happen to us?
I cannot give you a full story, for I am not allowed to at this time. However, there have been civilizations there, and to some degree, in what you would call your distant past, some of them have been connected to the idea of some of the individuals that exist upon your own planet now, reincarnationally speaking. The idea is that certain attributes, certain edifices that do exist upon that planet will and have been discovered, and more will be understood about them as you understand more about your own, shall we say, origins as a species. It is as if you are finding clues to your own past so that you can retrace your steps through the stars and understand as a civilization that, in effect, none of you are original to your planet. You understand? Now, that is all I can say at this time. Will that do? Thank you very much. Has it assisted you? Is there something else?
One thing I've been curious about.
Yeah.
In past lives,
Yeah.
does more than one entity share a life, or is it just experienced by one soul in that particular life?
Thank you very much. Very astute. First of all, the idea to remember is that all lives are occurring simultaneously, regardless of what you perceive to be a linear time track. You understand? The idea is that time, even though it is real while you're in it, is your illusion. And all lives exist simultaneously, much in the same way that what you call your radio has all the programs coming to it at once, but you only hear one at a time because that's where your dial is tuned. But you know all the programs are all there at the same time. All the lives are going on. What you call a life can actually be a fragment of a larger soul, called an oversoul, in that sense. An oversoul can have more than one life going on in the same time frame. These two beings would be called, in the vernacular, counterparts to each other, since they all extend back to the same whole soul. There can be many variations on this theme, including the one you have suggested. For the idea of a soul does not have to be an absolutely finite and discrete quantity. It is very malleable because it is thought essence, it is consciousness essence itself. And whatever it can imagine itself to be, it can experience itself as in whatever reality will give it the medium in which to experience that thought. You follow me? So it can be any number of combinations or rearrangements or fragmentations or conglomerations, because it is all simply consciousness. It is all made out of the same thing, so to speak, and can create itself in any type of arrangement it wishes to get any type of reflection back to itself that it feels is necessary for its own growth and understanding. So yes, it can. Thank you very much. Shannon! You!
We have been talking in the former session about the fourth dimension.
Yes, fourth density.
Fourth density. Could you define the fourth density? And if so, can you tell me if there's a possibility to give an image of this fourth density in our space and time right now?
The idea of fourth density is what can be termed the last level in evolution that you will experience degree of physicality, a much more rarefied version, a higher frequency, a more accelerated version of the physical reality you are familiar with now, where everything in your physical reality becomes, shall we say, more refined, more uplifted, more rarefied, slightly less physicalized, not quite as physically dense. More energy, more light, and more conscious awareness of the fact that what you have called physical reality is actually your creation, your projection of consciousness. Let me define the idea this way as well. Going from level to level, evolution to evolution, acceleration to acceleration, density to density, is the process of realizing that you actually are the dimension that you previously thought you existed in. Would you like that one more time? Please. All right. I will begin with a bit of a foundation. We have been discussing briefly the idea that physical reality, what you call solid physical reality, is actually simply the projection of what you imagine or define it to be. You understand? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Anyone not? All right. Whether you understand the mechanics of it or not, the principle is that clear. The idea that whatever you think reality is, that's what it is. All right. Reality, physical reality, is a projection of you. You are it. It is made of you. Consciousness, that's what you are. Consciousness, that's what physical reality is made of. It is made of you, a projection of the idea you believe is true for you at any given moment. Your society now is going through a transformational age, and one of the strongest things it is learning in this transformational age is the fact that physical reality is actually made from you. So now what you are seeing is that while for so long your society has been taught physical reality is something that exists with you or without you, it is separate from you, you are contained within it. You are a component of it, but you do not really affect the whole. You may be able to affect your immediate environment, perhaps through some great effort, but the idea is that you do not really have anything to do with the idea of the universe that you perceive around you. That's what you have been taught. Now you are beginning to realize that to the farthest place you can sense, that is actually being created by you. Its empirical existence as a potential has already existed and was initiated by the infinite creator. But the way you experience the physical universe is your creation. Because there is any number of ways to experience existence. The way you experience existence is actually made of you, is a projection of your consciousness. So, evolution of awareness, evolution of consciousness is the process of beginning to realize that the dimension that you thought you existed as a component of, that you thought you existed in, is actually what you are. You are now learning that you are the physical reality you thought you used to exist as an isolated person in. Understand me now? Mm-hmm. And as you accelerate beyond physical reality, in fifth density, sixth density, seventh density, and then on to the next octave of reality, each and every stage will be similar in the sense that you will begin to realize that you actually are the dimension itself that you thought you were only an inhabitant of before. Understand now? So the process is a process of refinement, in a sense, of becoming less physically dense, more accelerated, a higher frequency of vibration, more of a light energy, because everything is made of light itself. And that is what you are heading, shall we say, back towards, becoming more light consciousness itself. So, the change you are going through now as a society, the expansion of awareness you are having, is pulling you in the direction of becoming less attached, shall we say, or less likely to express yourself as a physiologically manifested being. fourth density will still be physiological for quite some time in your terms of time. Hundreds, perhaps a couple of thousand of your years. But because you will be a more refined physical expression, you will find yourself experiencing many ideas that are more close to energy expression. Towards the end of fourth density manifestation, you will find that almost no one on your planet will need to physically eat to sustain themselves, will not need sleep long before that, because they will always be in touch with the prime source of energy from which they will directly derive all the sustenance they need, because you will be more of that vibration yourself and therefore more capable of assimilating the direct primal energy of creation. So the idea of all the changes that many of you are going through now is a result and is, in a sense, a foundation for the changes you will be going through later, when you become less physically attached. Then in fifth density, which is what our society is transforming into, you will become non-physical completely. A non-physical society. Thought forms in a world of thought form, where everything you think is instantaneously manifested. Instantaneously. Now this is much the way it is in non-physical fourth density. Fourth density is the last level. 1, 2, 3, 4 is the last level in which you can experience to any degree what you would call true physicality. Fifth density on up, you can still experience things as if you were physically existent, but you will see many things that would indicate that you are not, because there will be no time lag, no space restriction. You can be wherever and whenever you want to be, because you will be outside the timeline, outside the definition of third density reality, which is space-time. The notion of time you have, linear time, the notion of distance you have from here to there. These are conventionalizations of your third density reality. They are the very definitions of it that give it its credence, its seeming solidity. Once you begin to blend these ideas, to know that they are only your constructions, you will begin to dispense with needing them. Some of you are beginning to experience this now, in little ways, in subtle ways, perhaps sometimes very profound ways. The sooner you start slipping into fourth density reality, the more time and space seem to jump around. The idea itself of being involved completely in the present with something so that you do not notice the passage of time is in and of itself a type of fourth density experience. Because, you see, many of you think, well, I was just involved, but I just didn't notice the passage of time. I just ignored it. No. You didn't create it. When you are involved with something that so absorbs you that you are lost in the moment, completely in the now with it, and you look up from that idea, and it appears as if, say, 3 of your hours have passed, but you only feel that, let us say, 1/2 hour has passed, you have only aged 1/2 hour. You have reconnected yourself to the mainstream continuity 3 hours hence, so as to keep step, so as to not be out of sync, as we say. But you have only created 1/2 hour of time. You have literally created less time by living in the moment. That's how you allow things to happen more quickly. Because if you live in the moment, you'll create less time. And if you create less time, then all the things that need to happen in your life won't have as much time in which to happen, and they'll have to happen sooner. Because you're not giving them as much time to happen in. I am speaking literally now, not philosophically. The more you live in the moment, the more you live in the now, the less time you create for things to happen in, so therefore the sooner everything has to occur to you. That's how you accelerate. And that's what fourth density is. And in what you call no later than 100 of your years, your society will be living fully in that way, synchronistically. No later than 150 to 300 years for the complete cycling and recycling of every being that still associates themselves reincarnationally to your planet. Everyone will be functioning in the way our society functions now, absolutely spontaneously, absolutely in the present, absolutely in the moment, with full conviction, full trust in the positive and full expression of all the creativity you know yourself to be as an aspect of the infinite. That's what fourth density is all about. Being in that state, you are a balanced being. No dis-ease can exist in that state. It is not definitionally possible because you are in an absolute state of conviction, an absolute state of openness, an absolute state of spontaneous balance. Dis-ease is the product of resisting your natural selves. That's all it is. It's being out of balance with what you know is your natural self. It's not going with what you call your flow. When you live in the moment, you are absolutely aligned with the vibrational frequency of the infinite. And when you are aligned in that way, you cannot be dis-eased. You cannot be out of balance. So there will be no disease upon your planet. Everyone will be expressing the idea of absolute abundance in whatever way, shape, or form represents who they have chosen to be. That is fourth density. That is the reality we perceive your world is heading towards, regardless of the way it may seem on the surface at this time. The idea now of what might be perceived to be the acceleration of violence upon your planet, in a sense to us, is the last vestiges of getting everything out of your system, because there isn't really very much time left in which to experience negativity. Because you are changing rapidly. Therefore, you are getting all these things from beneath, from within, out into the open, bubbling them all out to the surface, creating them to be overt instead of covert. So that all of you can now see what is going on within all of you and say, wait a minute, is this the kind of world we want? Yes or no? Now you can all decide. Now you can all, as you say, vote. Because now you are a global community and you cannot ignore each other's tantrums any longer. Now everyone on your planet is in your backyard. It is no longer remote. Not my concern. Because it's so very far away. It's not far away anymore. You are one world now. As soon as you all start acting like it, you will see the result of that, and you will have the fourth density reality we have described. It is actually quite a simple thing to do, because all it takes is being your natural self, which for some reason your planet has made the most difficult thing to do. Everyone on your planet, or at least many individuals on your planet, as we have perceived your society, tries very hard to be someone they're not. Someone else. And they are taught that this is the way they must be. It is all well and good to see someone set an example and be inspired by that, but the only way you will ever do what they are doing is in your own way. Because you are unique, obviously. You will never be like anyone else, no matter whether you mimic someone else or not. Be your natural self. That's what you were created to be. And being your full natural self is the fourth density reality we perceive you are heading into. Does this answer your question sufficiently? Yes.
How, in your dimension, how would you deal with something like AIDS or cancer?
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, in a sense, we have already dealt with that because, as we have said, we are living in total balance. Therefore, we cannot have disease. And in a sense, that is our first suggestion for how to deal with it. To understand that your reality is created by you. Now, this does not mean that individuals on your planet consciously say, I think I'll get cancer today, although many of them do, if you stop and think about it. However, the ones that don't are still creating it through unconscious belief systems, because your reality has been taught that you have an unconscious mind, and that the unconscious mind can suppress things, hide things. Now let me just digress for one moment. We were speaking before of the idea of collective unconscious and individual unconscious and subconscious reality. There really is no such thing. Not empirically. You are one consciousness. Subconsciousness and unconsciousness are convenient definitions for things you don't want to look at. That's all it is. You have actually created a compartment within yourself in which to place things you simply do not want to look at for one reason or another that your society has made viable to you. Because you fear to see certain things, because you have been taught to fear certain things. Since you have been taught to fear these things, You can have things tucked away within you. What the disease's existence is showing them, what it means, what meaning they have given it, what message the disease is trying to deliver, when they realize that, then they can deliver the message some other way to themselves. They don't need the disease to do it. No one needs to have a disease. No one needs to hit themselves over the head in order to get the picture. But if an individual is very stubborn and not willing to receive the message any other way, and if that's the only way that will get through to them, then that's the way they'll create. Once they realize they can receive the message in some other way, they do not need the disease anymore. So, our first suggestion, when an individual has any kind of disease of that nature, is to look at what it represents to them, what it symbolizes to them, and more importantly, to understand what they are learning about themselves by having created it to begin with. Now, we realize that on your planet, it might be a difficult thing to attempt to convince someone that they created a disease. But that is the first step, for a very simple reason. Because we have discussed the idea that you are all responsible for the creation of reality. So if an individual will not own what is going on in their reality, they can't change it. If they don't own it, they can't change it. Now, many people are not willing to own such a thing because they are taught to think that owning it means blame, failure. Oh, if you did that, you must really be a mess. You must be a poor excuse for a human being. That's the way your society has been taught to think. So it is no wonder that people are not willing to take responsibility for the things that happen in their lives, because they do not want to be called failures and do not want to think that they cannot create what they want. But if you can teach an individual that if such a thing has occurred in one's life, that there can be a positive reason for it, and if they can learn what that positive reason is, then they can transform anything at all. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how devastating it seems, how unchangeable it seems. It has been created. It can be changed. Does this help?
Yes.
Now,
what about medicine?
No, all right. We got to get into that. There can be many ideas. We have already suggested some ideas. But the idea of medicine, or what you would call a physiological cure, first of all, will only happen when the belief system will allow it to happen. Because the belief system overrides everything. Cures, physical cures, medicinal cures in your society are not possible until a belief system in the society says it is possible. So anything we could suggest, and we have suggested many things, will not work anyway until someone's belief system says it will. However, there are many methodologies which you already have at your disposal of healing, some of which are in what you call the medical arts, which work for some people because of their belief system, and don't work for others because of their belief system, and some of what you simply call the healing arts in a more direct sense, a more natural sense, so to speak, because that's what some people believe will work best. One of the strongest ways to alleviate physiologically any disease in your society is to expose an individual to a very strong, aligned, magnetic field that is pulsating at approximately 7.5 cycles per second, because that is the electromagnetic frequency of your planet, the natural frequency of nature. If you can align an individual's cellular structure in a magnetic field, in that magnetic frequency, no disease can occur within that field. And within such a field, many individuals can attain a complete remission of any disease. However, if they do not continue to create a belief system which supports their health, then the disease can come back, no matter what cure has been dispensed. Understand? Now, there will be at least 2 or 3 different avenues of research on your planet that will seemingly come up with a cure within what we perceive to be the next 10 to 13 of your years. Some of it will be genetic. One will be an understanding that there are substances within the enzymes and the acids in certain fruits upon your planet, such as cherry and peach and berry that actually have the ability to strengthen the immune system to such a degree that what you call such viruses will have no effect. Some of this work will be begun, but may be discarded when other ideas, such as the electromagnetic idea, which will also be pursued upon your planet and is being pursued now, and the electrical balancing idea, which is also being pursued upon your planet, will seem to show more promise. The idea is now being understood upon your planet that the human body and many physiological bodies are very much like what you would call an electric battery and have positive and negative balances. Disease, in a sense, is a disimbalance of these charges, and if they can be rebalanced electrically, then no disease can exist within such a body, within such a framework. This is now being experimented with in many areas upon your planet and will come to very strong understanding within the idea of the next decade. Also, stronger magnetic fields will be created now with your planet's new superconducting technology. And so these will also be available. You may find that some individuals will even find, as you say, quote unquote, by accident, that by exposing themselves to certain magnetic fields, diseases they had will no longer exist, and this will lead them in the direction of that exploration. The idea now of the device upon your planet you call the magnetic imaging resonance scanner not only has the capacity to some degree to diagnose the idea of disease, but also has to some degree the capacity to cure the very disease it is diagnosing, although your individuals have not stumbled upon this yet, because it gives off a very strong magnetic field. And if it is properly tuned, an individual passed through it can be cured, can be realigned. All these ideas will begin to be explored. But the foundation, as always, is that if you understand the basic reason for the existence of these things, that will alleviate them the quickest. Now, there are many individual reasons for the creation of a disease, but there are also some general consensus reality ideas. And to use your example of AIDS, our perception of the general consensus belief structure that has created the disease you call AIDS upon your planet is as follows. The long-standing denial within your collective society of the balance of masculine and feminine energy within each and every being, the denial of that blending and the denial of that intimacy within each individual has created a condition that now has led to the viral epidemic upon your planet. The re-merging, the marriage, if you will, of the masculine and feminine energies within each and every being will go a long way to creating an environment, an atmosphere in which that disease cannot perpetuate, cannot exist, cannot continue. It is only the idea of that segregation within the self, that separation of those two polarities, those energies, that allows you to function, in a sense, as incomplete beings. And functioning in that way, on that low energy level, makes you susceptible to all sorts of imbalances. Because you are not functioning on the full energy potential you all could be. By blending and balancing and harmonizing and coming to terms with both sides of yourself. Positive, negative, balance. Masculine, feminine, balance. What you call light, dark, balance. Finding the balance. Now, there is a very simple way. There are many ways, but the overall simple idea of finding the balance is as follows. It is so simple, many of you may miss it the first time we say it. Do in life what excites you the most with integrity. Well, how is doing what excites me going to create that kind of balance and keep me disease-free? Fair enough. Definition, perhaps, at least our definition, is in order. Excitement, ... The physical translation of the vibratory energy that represents the path you chose to be. That's what excitement is. So when you are doing the thing that excites you the most with integrity, you are fully aligned with the path you chose to be. And when you're fully aligned with the path you chose to be, you are in balance. and you cannot have the idea of dis-ease. Excitement, that feeling, that rush of excitement, that knowingness that you are where you belong, that you are doing the thing that you love to do with passion, that feeling, that energy, that aligns your entire cellular, molecular, and atomic structure physically, literally, and makes you in a state of existence that can only experience a reality that is reflective of that balanced state. This is all simple mechanics, simple physics. You cannot experience a reality you are not the vibration of. So change the vibration of the individual by changing the definition of the reality, by doing the things that truly excite the individual, to inspire and ignite that individual, and they will burn with a radiance and a fire that is bright and hot enough to completely obliterate any disease, any imbalance. They will be impenetrable. Make sense?
Yes.
Does it answer the question sufficiently?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. You!
Along those same lines, what if you don't know what excites you the most?
Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, like,
Now, when we say, do the thing that excites you the most, we do not mean that you have to have an idea of the thing that will be the most exciting thing you will ever do in your life. We do not have to mean it has to be formatted in what you would call a career, a project of special proportions. It can be, but if it isn't, if you do not now know a particular thing, then allow yourself to understand you can perform this idea on a very simplified level, which you would do in any case. And that is as follows. Do, at any given moment, the thing out of all the things you could do at that moment that excites you the most, with integrity. A step at a time. That's all it takes. You will always know, at any given moment, what opportunities are open to you to do. Just on any level. Will I go here? Will I do this? I have, let's say, X number of opportunities at this moment that I could do. Now, which of these truly excites me the most? With integrity. Do it. In other words, to put it on a very simplified level, I will assume, not because it is me, but simply because you are in this interaction, that this interaction is the most exciting thing you could be doing at this moment. If it were not, I would suggest you do something else. And when this interaction is over, I will simply ask you, out of all the things you could do at the end of this interaction, this evening of your time, will you do the thing that will be the most exciting, or will you settle for less? That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it. When you are deciding, when you are at a point in your life, and I do not mean this has to be a major crossroad, just any point where you are now deciding what to do next, when you don't know, assess all the opportunities that are there, allow them to all be equal, and then simply pick the one that sparks you the most. Act on it with integrity. It will always, underline that word as many times as you want to, it will always lead you to the next most exciting circumstance you need to be led to, automatically, effortlessly. And you will also be led to the circumstance that will give you whatever capabilities you need to be able to take advantage of the next level of opportunities that will excite you the most, that you will choose from. These things come automatically when you act at any given moment, in the moment, on whatever it is at that moment that excites you the most with integrity. It's as simple and fundamental as that. Take it a step at a time. Second point. Many people, now I'm not saying this is the case with you. If it applies, apply it. But many people will say, well, I don't know what excites me. And that's not true. They have been taught to believe they don't know what excites them. They sometimes don't give themselves a chance to understand they know what really excites them. Many times people will know very well what really is the most exciting thing they could be doing, but, powerful word in your society, but, they will have been taught and will continue to believe that what it is that excites them is not a valid way to live. And so they will negate it to the point where they don't even perceive that it excites them anymore, because they have been told, that's no way to make a living. Oh, grow up. Oh, don't be naive. Oh, be realistic. Oh, you're such a dreamer. Oh, you can never do that. In order to really make something of yourself, you have to struggle. You won't deserve it if you don't work hard for it. If you don't do it this way, you'll be a failure. I'll be disappointed in you if you don't accomplish this. All of these definitions, all of these ideas have a lot to do with an individual who truly does know what excites them the most to forget that they know it. Understand?
Yeah, but what about mental blocks? Like, say, for example,
Yeah.
I want to lose 50 pounds.
No, right?
But why? I want to, but why? How come I'm not?
All right. Thank you very much. Now, I will delineate many of the general reasons for why individuals in your society create the idea of extra weight. I will not necessarily address any one of these to you. You may pick and choose, if any, which of these may apply, because it will always be your definition of reality that creates the reality you experience. And the only reason an individual may not be able to change it is because they have not been able to get in touch with what the definition is that they have bought into that has created the reality to begin with. You follow me so far? Yes, no, maybe?
Maybe. Keep
Right.
going.
In other words, your physical reality is created by definitions you have bought into. You understand?
Yes.
Many times you may not be in touch with what the definition is that is creating the reality you have, and that's why you can't change it, because you don't know what the definition is. If you don't know what the definition is that's creating the reality you have, then you can't redefine it and get another reality. Understand?
Yeah, how do you...
Thank you. I'm going to give you some of the definitions your society uses to create the idea of extra weight. See if any of these apply to you. All right?
Yes.
Thank you very much. First definition. We will take the play on words that exist in your English language to underline the first point. Many people, when they are not doing what excites them the most in life, are waiting to do what excites them the most.
Okay.
People are energy. Energy is mass. If you are not flowing your energy out into the thing that excites you, you are holding the energy, and if you hold the energy, it turns into mass. When you start doing what really excites you with that energy, it will start flowing again. It will turn from mass back into energy and flow, because you will no longer be waiting to do what you are all about. That's one reason. Another reason. Individuals sometimes who are very sensitive to higher energies, when they begin to explore the idea of those higher energies, may have bought into a belief system that those higher energies are something more than their frail little bodies can contain. So they'll put on a few pounds just as an added extra buffer, so that the energy, in that sense, that comes through them will not burn them up or eat them away by the time they get used to it or understand what it's all about. Idea number 3. Many individuals, if they are in a sense not willing to look at something that may come from their outside environment that they need to look at, may put on weight to act as a buffer zone to keep things away or to hide certain things in. So it will be, quote unquote, more difficult to find because there is more of you to look in. In a sense, it takes the focus off of having to look for something, because there is so much exterior apparency that it takes your focus off of the interior that you don't want to look at. Now, there are also reasons of the following nature. Sometimes an individual will have chosen in a particular life to be of service to other individuals in a particular way. In your particular society, sometimes individuals who are able to be of great benefit to other individuals by sharing information with them or sharing exchanges of energy with them will have to come across in a way that those individuals will trust. What is one of the strongest associations in your society regarding the idea of maternity? The idea of someone, in a sense, who has an abundance to give. So the idea sometimes is that individuals will choose temporarily to show extra weight, to appear maternal and comfortable to other individuals they attract in their lives, so that they can help those individuals, and those individuals won't think that you are being judgmental of them. Because they will understand that it comes from your heart, because you are not holding anything over them because of the attention your society puts on physical looks. That's another reason. Another idea sometimes is that individuals, when they begin to explore what their society has told them are flighty matters, will put on a few pounds to ensure that they remain grounded. All of these and many more ideas are the reasons that your society deals with the issue of weight. There are many more reasons. If these ideas do not apply to you, at least they have perhaps given you an understanding of how you can begin to explore for yourself what your definition might be about the idea. Sometimes individuals will have experienced certain things, have created certain experiences in their early life, and the weight may be a reaction, in a sense, to a society they do not really want to interact with, or because they feel that they do not deserve to have what they want, and so the weight, in a sense, will act almost like a barrier, a fence to keep it away. This is the perimeter, come no closer, stay far away. These reasons as well exist in your society to create the idea of physiological expansion. Sometimes it will simply be because an individual really feels very full, very large in energy, but has made a translation into physicality, and so is attempting to fill their auric field with actual physical mass. There is that reason as well. And of course, there are many of the reasons your society already understands the idea of feeling a lack of things, and the idea of hoarding because you feel there will not be enough. There is that reason as well. But whatever your personal reason, allow yourself perhaps as a suggestion from us to begin by examining what is the definition in your reality that would be necessary to sustain that particular idea. Ask yourself, what kind of a belief would I have to have in order to have this manifestation of physical reality? Meditate on it. Be at peace and at ease with yourself about what it is you will discover. Do not be afraid to find the answer. Sometimes that keeps you at bay. That might represent one of the mental blocks you have referred to, although we do not believe that blocks really exist. The idea simply is to be at peace and be at trust that whatever answer you will find will serve you in a positive way. You don't have to be afraid of whatever that answer is. You will be able to use it ingeniously. You will be able to use it in whatever way you want to, and when you start understanding the definition, you will be able to redefine it, and in redefining it, you will see the difference in your physical reality because you will begin to act in the way that is representative of the new definition, and in so doing, you cannot have anything but a reality that is reflective of the new definition you have assigned to it. Is this all making some sense to you?
Yes, very much so.
Is it of assistance to you?
Yes, very interesting concept.
Thank you very much, and may I wish you pleasant dreams. Sherry! You!
In your civilization, what is the basis of your mathematics? We have a decimal here. What do you use?
Our old mathematical system used to be based on what you would call 12, but we no longer use it. The idea now is that we have more of what could be called an intuitive grasp of spatial relationships. We no longer have mathematics as you understand it as a regimented structural science. But it used to be based on the idea of 12. Does it help?
Another question.
Hey.
How far have you gone with electromagnetic fields? And have you discovered monopoles yet?
In a sense, yes. We have discovered the idea of monopole. However, in our society, it is recognized as a thing which can be experienced only in a state of existence that you would call a singularity. Are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
Within the singularity, whether it is artificial or naturally created, there can then, in that reality, which is all reality, be the experience of the breakdown of any one component of a polarity. But within the physiological universe, there cannot be only one component. So the idea is that in order to use the idea of any one side of a polarity, such as a monopole, you must first create a singularity which embodies and embraces all reality, all dimensions, and therefore in which no one-dimensional physics takes precedence over any other. So that anything in that sense is possible. Anything is manifestable. Through that structure, through that particular generated singularity, you can then create almost any type of physics. We have been able to utilize electromagnetic fields to create those singularities necessary for the generation of that type of power. And it is that idea that we use in the heart of what you call our spacecraft to be able to, shall we say, tunnel through dimensions from one to another rather than traveling in the dimension to get where we want to go. Does this make some sense?
Yes.
The idea is that in your physiological dimension, the speed of light, or what you have called the speed of light, is truly an absolute. Traveling from place to place instantaneously is not really traveling at all. It is, in a sense, merging with the fabric of existence in one locale and re-emerging from that fabric in another locale instantaneously without actually having traveled any intervening distance at all. To do this, we envelop our spacecraft in a type of singularity. And within that singularity, all dimensions are here and now. And by imparting the slightest variance in the vibrational construction of the ship, a vibrational construction representative of a particular universal reality, then our ship will then have an affinity to that particular universal reality and space-time locale. When we remove the singularity field from around the ship by definition will have to take up residence in the new universe and the new location it now has been given an affinity to. So it simply transcends from one locational definition to another locational definition, no matter where or when those definitions are. Space, in that sense, is rendered into a complete here and now, one point in the singularity. That is how we have, shall we say, bent the electromagnetic field, for we use light itself for all the power that we need to accomplish any of these things. It is truly that we are, with light, folding the universe to be able to move within it, rather than traveling in the same way now that your devices travel through your physical space. Does this make sense?
So there's no linear travel then?
Not the way we travel, no. Not even really fundamentally is there actually linear travel. Not even when you take your hand and move from here to here. This is an illusion of continuity. What is actually happening is analogous to what you call the frames that exist in the medium you call your film strip. You have discrete frames. When they are moved fast enough, they appear to be a continuously flowing image. You follow me? This seemingly continuously flowing image is actually made up of discrete creations. This locale and moment. This locale and moment. This locale and moment. And an infinity of moments in between those particular places. Because of the definitions of space and time you have in physical reality, this motion seems fluid and continuous because of the rate at which you recreate yourself over and over and over again, moment to moment to moment to moment. That rate is so great a frequency that you do not perceive that you are actually flickering in and out of physical reality all the time. All we have done in that sense is realize that motion isn't really linear, even though the illusion of it might seem to be. And that we have allowed ourselves, shall we say, to go 90 degrees out of phase with that linear continuity illusion. To be able to step, shall we say, in between, quote unquote, the moments of this reality to discover that in between the moments of any one reality are all the moments of all the other dimensional realities that exist. Each taking turns, flickering on and off so fast that each and every reality seems unto itself discrete and whole, and does not necessarily perceive all the other realities going on in between all the moments in time you think of as real. Make sense?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mateo.
I started in June channeling an entity named Exaka from the planet Interray. I was wondering if you know this entity, and my concern at this moment is to step forward and do it more publicly.
All right. The vibration we are perceiving from you that you have defined appears to us to be an entity that is connected to you through your oversoul, and in a sense has a similar relationship to you as I do to the physical channel before you. This relationship can be translated as follows. Now, there may be many interpretations of this translation, but this perhaps will be the clearest one in your language that can be made. That consciousness, in a sense, is a version of your future self. Understand?
Similar to yourself.
I am, in a sense, the future self of the physical channel sitting before you, in another dimensional existence. I am discrete, I am distinct, I am my own persona, but at the same time, we are aspects of each other, and we are both aspects of the same soul. As we are perceiving the energy you have described, the vibration you have described, it is similar with you. All you need to do, regardless of the label, because the labels are not that important, they are only a matter of convenience for you, they are only a matter of orientation. Regardless of the label, allow yourself to trust that you have made agreements, that if you are a person who knows they are functioning within integrity, then those agreements will be fulfilled within integrity. Trust it in that manner. Let it flow through. It will only serve the purpose of the integrity you have chosen it to serve. And trusting it more will allow it to flow through in an easier manner. The only reason that makes it seem difficult is simply because of the doubt itself that it would flow through and serve the purpose that you agreed to serve by making that agreement. Understand?
I do.
Does that assist you?
Yes. The concern about the public is that I've been a businesswoman for 20 years.
Yeah.
This is not considered, and I feel that I should be a leader of some sort, and I'm wondering if...
You will be a mirror for many individuals. The idea is that we do not necessarily, though we know what you mean, we do not necessarily prefer the term leader because it implies that everyone else will be followers.
Right.
You will be a mirror of leadership to reflect to everyone their own self-leadership. You can do that. We understand what you are saying when you say your typical business world does not operate that way, but things are changing, you know. And the more you become yourself, the faster they can change, because then you are adding your momentum to the overall ability of your world to move in whatever direction it wants to. Besides all of that, however, it is your life. And if you are deciding that what you are doing that is true for you is being done with all the integrity you can muster, and that you are really doing it to the best of your ability as far as you know, then there really is no other criteria. If you are doing it to be of service, trust you will be of service, and that everything will fall into place automatically to bring to you the appropriate opportunity that will allow you to be of service, because there is no one who has a gift to give that will not find an audience to receive it. No one. Because there is no such thing as an extraneous or pointless creation. There is no one that has the ability to express themselves that does not have someone willing to listen to that expression and be served by that expression, as long as you remember that those you are serving are teaching you as well. Now, does that help you? Remember, we know what your society has created itself to be, but the final question is, who are you? Regardless of what they tell you you ought to be. You can listen to their advice, you can listen to their opinions and their suggestions, and you can thank them all profusely for sharing their point of view, no matter how positive, no matter how negative. Because remember, even if all the advice you get is contrary to what you perceive is true for you, you have still been served by them, because now you know more truly who you are by knowing more clearly what you are not. Understand? Does that help you? We thank you for your conviction. We thank you for your boldness. At this timing, we would suggest that all of you take a short break. We will resume contact in approximately 10 of your minutes. How's it going? Say, by the way, for your further information, just as a little bit of assistance in relating to us, to our civilization, though we are now telepathic and do no longer use the language that we used to so long ago, in that ancient language, our people were called Sasani, which in your language would translate out to living light. Our planet simply Sasani, Esasani, place of living light. We are of average 5 feet of your height of counting, wide, whitish grey skin coloration, very wide, upturned eyes. The males have no hair. Females have hair on the head, usually white, though there are exceptions. We are relatively slender in form, as we are becoming more and more non-physical. We no longer sustain ourselves with what you would call physiological food, nor do we sleep, as you understand sleep. If you wish to make any comparison between our species and your species, the idea would be closest, if you were to think of your culture, you may call Mongolian, although this will simply be an approximation, not something exact. We are, in that sense, not human in shape, but we are, in your words, humanoid. Turning that idea around, you to us would be Esasani-ish. The idea simply is that we have a similar physicality to you, though not identical. When referring to our society, if you wish, you may use the term in our own ancient language of Esasani. You may proceed with what you call second line of questioning.
Bashar?
You!
You spoke of beliefs. Our beliefs creating our reality. What beliefs of mine do I need to change in order to create more money in my life?
What beliefs do you have about your life now and what you perceive to be the lack of abundance in it? Before you answer that, let us explore the fundamental definitions of abundance itself. Because many times we have perceived in our interactions with many of you, the definition of abundance itself can seem to keep it at bay from you. Because many of you don't actually know what abundance is. Therefore, you don't really know what kind of a definition you have about it. And therefore, you don't really know why it isn't manifesting in your life. Because you don't know what it is. If we may, allow us to provide our definition of abundance. May we? Yes. Thank you. Abundance. Dot, dot. We like to have fun with your language. Are you all paying attention?
Yes.
All right. Abundance. The ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Period. Hey, he didn't say anything about money. No, I didn't. Now, I am in no way, shape, or form discounting the version, the form, the tool of abundance you call money in your society. Our society doesn't have that particular tool. That doesn't invalidate that tool in your society. However, it isn't the only tool. It is not the only way to represent abundance in your society. Because many of you are brought up in the type of culture that believes that money is really the only way to manifest abundance, then sometimes the degree of focus you have on needing only money to represent abundance, that degree of focus in and of itself sometimes will prevent you from experiencing the very abundance you desire, because your definition of abundance is so limited to only one particular manifestational method that you do not allow yourself to allow any other method to come into play, and that blocks all methods from coming into play. Because you are not allowing abundance to occur naturally within the circumstances as they create themselves in your lifestyle. Now, the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it, that's abundance. And anyone who has that capability is just as rich as they need to be if they can do what they need to do. Also, abundance, in whatever form it comes, will only come to the degree in your life that you are expressing the idea you are. If you are not expressing the fullest idea of the thing that excites you the most, you don't need any more abundance to express whatever level you are expressing yourself at. When someone starts expressing themselves on a broader scale, and therefore does require more abundance and more different types of abundance in order for their expression to become manifested in physical reality, then the opportunities and the styles of abundance come flowing into your life automatically, coincidentally, synchronistically, effortlessly. The idea simply takes action. Action in the direction of the thing that you say is really the thing that excites you the most. Another misconception in your society that sometimes prevents what you think ought to be the abundance in your life is as follows. Sometimes an individual will focus on the idea of wanting money so they can do the thing that really excites them. However, what they're actually focused on is the money, not the thing that excites them. So in a sense, you are misdirecting energy. I'm not speaking personally, just generally. You are misdirecting energy when you focus on the tool and not the actual thing that represents what excites you the most. Example, sometimes individuals say, well, all right, the thing that excites me the most right now is to have an absolutely glorious place to live. That is the thing that I really know is the focus of my life, the very fiber of my being right now. I am feeling like the idea of a home and all the things that represents. That, to me now, is the most exciting thing I wish to be focused on in my life. So, many of you say, now what do I have to do to get that home? Well, let's see. Homes cost this, and I have to have this, and I better do that in order to get that home. Oh, sounds like a lot of work all of a sudden. Don't know if it's going to be so exciting after all, because I don't really find myself excited about having to work for all the money in order to get the home. I'm really excited about the home. Therefore, that's your first clue. Focus on the idea that is really the exciting idea, not the means to the idea, not the tool that you think you need to have the idea. Focus your direction on the thing itself. Then, simply act in the moment on whatever is the most exciting opportunity you can act upon out of all the things that are available to you to act upon, then you will attract yourself into the circumstances to give you whatever tool you need to be able to acquire the thing that really excites you. Now, the point that most of you, shall we say, become confused or foggy upon is you think that the circumstance you have to act upon, the circumstance that excites you the most, that you need to act upon in order to activate that other thing, needs to appear to be somehow connected to that other thing. On the surface, it doesn't need to look like it has to have anything at all to do with the thing you want. The thing that lets you know it is connected to the other circumstance you want is the fact that it excites you above and beyond anything else you could be doing at that moment. Excitement is a thread. It leads to all other things that excite you. So if something in particular is the most exciting thing you can imagine, and you find no way to act toward it, do what you can act upon that is the most exciting thing you can act upon, and that act in and of itself will lead you in the most unexpected way into the circumstance you need exactly to get you the thing you really need. Analogy. Example. Once again, the house. And you think, oh no, the money, I need the money, or I can't have what I really, really want. Very few of you actually just want money. You want money more often than not to do something else. Yes? Yes. Something else that really excites you. It isn't the money that excites you, it's the ability to do what you want to do that excites you. So don't focus on the tool, on the money as the only tool that can give it to you. To further the analogy, you are now walking down the street. You have in your head the idea of the house. You are so excited about the house. And then you start thinking about the job you think you have to take to make the money to buy the house, and you become a little less excited. You're walking down the street, and a friend walks up to you and says, well, how do you do? And you say, well, not so good. Oh, says the friend, why not? Well, I'm really excited about something in life, but I think I have to do something I'm not really very excited about in order to get it. Oh, well, that does sound puzzling. Why don't you ponder it with me, over lunch? Well, you know, I really am far more excited about going to lunch with you than I am about going to the idea of a job to make money that is not exciting to be able to get what I really want. But I don't know. If I don't go to this job, I will never get the money. I'll never get what I want. Well, will it really cost you so much to go to lunch for a little while? You are hungry, aren't you? Well, yes, I am, and I really do find that your company is far more exciting. All right, I'll go with you just for a little while. But if I am late, I won't get the job, I won't make the money, I won't get the house. Well, all right, I'll make sure you leave on time. So you go to lunch, because it really is at that moment the most exciting option you have been offered. And there you are, sitting, having a good time, and you feel a little more carefree, and you're starting to focus on the excitement of the house again. And maybe, every now and then you start thinking about the job, and your excitement goes down a little bit. But maybe your friend, being a very good friend, puts you back on track and says, well, tell me more about this house idea. It sounds very exciting. And you get more excited again, and you build up the excitement. And then, all of a sudden, you realize, oh no, you have been talking about what excites you so much that you have missed the opportunity to go to the job interview, and you have perhaps lost the job. You go, oh no. Now you'll never make the money to have the house. And then all of a sudden, a friend of your friend comes along who you do not know. And your friend says, oh, what a coincidence. Well, join us, won't you? And the third new friend says, oh, yes, and you are introduced. And your other friend, your first friend says, well, you know, so-and-so here was just telling me about how excited they would be about this house and so on and so on. And the new friend, eyebrows raised in surprise, and says, what? Well, you are looking for such a place to stay? Well, yes, but you see, now I've missed the job and I'll never get the money, you know. Oh, but what an amazing coincidence. I am leaving the country, and I need someone to stay in my house. Probably, I don't know, 5 years. 10 years. I'm not sure I'll ever be back, but I really want someone that I feel would be at home there, that would treat it like I have treated it. Now, I know this friend, and this friend vouches for you, and you have expressed to me the desire that you have, and it sounds like a very loving desire. Well, I don't know why, I hardly know you, but I feel I can trust you in my house. Would you live there? Who told me? Would you live there? Just take care of it for me. Maybe someday I will be back. Maybe someday I will sell it, but for now, it's a place, and I want someone to warm that place up. Would you? And you go, oh my. Oh my. Well, this house you are talking of, well, where might it be? Well, maybe you have seen it. It's on such and such road at the top of such and such hill. What? That house? The house that I have walked by every day for the last month, using as my guide for the type of house I want to have? You mean that exact house? I can have that house? Oh, dream come true. Who would have believed this possible? Well, that's the question, isn't it? Too good to be true? Who said? That's not the way life works. That's a fairy tale. Just a coincidence, just an accident. Never happen again in a million years. Not in my reality. Every single moment, every single day, every single year, forever. That's how life works. If you let it. Because life does work. Everything is connected. There's a place for everything, and everything fits. And when you trust it and act upon it, you allow it to show you it fits. You allow yourself to have the awareness of the fact it fits, and you slide synchronistically into the right place at the right moment, interacting with exactly the correct individuals you need to interact with, so that they can serve the vibration you have put out, and you can serve the vibration they have put out. For if you were paying attention, you will recognize that not only did the person who wanted the house get the house, but the person who had the house needed the service returned. And everything fit. And there was an intermediary, a friend who also got the benefit and the joy of knowing that that friend had brought together two people who could serve each other. Everyone benefited. And that is how life works, when you focus on the thing that really excites you and not the tool you think you need. Because now it is obvious that that individual never needed the money, and that the money, though sometimes it can be the path of least resistance, isn't always the path of least resistance to bring you the abundance you really need. Because abundance can come in many forms. It can be something exchanged. It can simply be given as a gift of love. It can come in the most unexpected way. It's just the ability itself to do what you need to do, when you need to do it, to reflect the idea that really excites you the most. And all you ever need to do, I guarantee it, 100%, because that's the way the universe is built. All you ever need to do is have the focus on any particular thing, if you have such a thing that excites you, and or do at any given moment the thing you find most exciting with integrity. It will always lead you into precisely the set of circumstances necessary to reflect all the abundance in whatever way you need. Does this help? Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
My question is probably personal.
Oh, all right. Maybe my answer will be personal too.
Actually, it's about my son.
All right.
I'm very concerned
Yes.
about his health.
Health. All right.
He is the victim of a people doctor who had an operation, and since then he's never been well. So he's very depressed, confused, he cannot work.
May I ask you a question? What, in your terminology, is the nature of the operation.
But anyway, operation, and they started much too high, too way up with the destroying doing that.
In what particular area?
Or, I don't know how to say it. That's what they say, that they cut him too high. Separation, when the Lord's separation was cut much too high. I said that.
All right.
Whenever he never healed from that, and he brings something.
All right.
When he goes to
Yes.
bowel movement,
And
he brings something.
and
Yes.
all right. Stop. We will have a few suggestions. Now, what is the age in your terminology of this person?
54.
Oh, what? One more. Can this individual sustain to any degree of comfort
No.
let me finish. To any degree of comfort, what you would call a 3-day water fast? Can they subsist on water primarily for approximately 3 days? Or do you think that would be too much for them? All right. Then you can complement the idea simply with juices, but for now the idea of what you would call nothing solid. Can be very enriching juices, can be vegetable, can be fruit juices, but juices for 3 days that the individual finds nourishing and agreeable and invigorating and vitalizing. And each and every time the individual feels so inclined to drink a glass of juice, to first, before drinking, hold the hands approximately within what you would call 3 inches of the glass, and to breathe very deeply and evenly, calmly, not forced, just in a meditative state, eyes closed, to breathe. And as the individual breathes deeply, to visualize from the hand bright beam of blue-white light going into the glass, into the juice, into the liquid or water, and seeing the juice glow. Do this for approximately 10 of your minutes, if possible. Just ease of breathing and the flowing of this blue-white electromagnetic liquid light, infusing the liquid to be drunk. Then, calmly breaking and acknowledging the consciousness within the juice, the consciousness within the being, the consciousness of the whole body, acknowledging that the body is energy and is one homogeneous substance. And then drinking the juice and feeling in the imagination the juice not only going down the throat and into what you would call the stomach, but feeling the energy that has been put into the juice bleeding into every cell. Feel the invigorating cool heat going into every fiber, every muscle, every bone, every tissue, all the way down to the feet, all the way up to the head, throughout, and even to some degree radiating from the pores into the energy field, the auric field around the body, so that the person feels they are glowing with the energy of the juice, and that they are in complete natural gratitude with all creation for the sustenance and the alignment that they are receiving. And allow them to continue to breathe and feel at ease. Then go about their business until the next time they feel a desire for more juice, to repeat that idea for 3 of your days and see what difference that may make in the individual. All right?
One more thing.
Yes.
Moving on with the friend man. He was sort of in the army, and they refused to give him the benefit, rather the pension.
This is an issue we cannot touch at this moment. To some degree, some of this idea will be connected to his own state of self-sustenance. For many times in your society, the notion of needing to receive compensation or benefit sometimes ties directly into a lack of belief of being able to sustain the self. Allow him to work first on the idea of reblending and harmonizing with nature itself, and see everything else in life change. It may not be as necessary for certain things to come to fruition as he may think. They may be able to manifest in other ways. The changes within him from what we have suggested may change his entire attitude, approach to life, and may change his desire for how he goes through life and what he involves himself in. He may derive a completely different kind of benefit by moving in a completely unexpected direction after he changes the idea of who he believes he is and what he is capable of doing. So that issue to us is a very secondary and superficial issue that hinges on the first in many ways. Understand? Also, he can understand when he lays down to sleep that he has, like everyone, guides that will assist him, guides that will remind him that he is energy, that matter is energy, energy is matter, to allow him to breathe as one with nature, as one with the collective energy of all that is, and to be balanced and to be healed. For there is nothing in physical materiality, especially of the nature you are discussing, that cannot be healed. Allow him to know, allow him to focus on the idea in his imagination of what he believes would represent his idealized physiological condition. And then allow him to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that what he imagines is who he is. Allow him to start acting more like that person, the person he sees himself, he desires himself to be. As soon as he starts acting more like that healthy and fully aligned and complete person, it will not matter what has been done physiologically in the past, because he will become such a different person, such a new person, that he will literally have a new past. And whatever he defines himself to be in the present will be what his reality physically will be, regardless of anything that has ever been. Because remember, each and every one of you are creating your past from your present, not the other way around, no matter how it seems in linear time. Whatever you are now determines the entire event you are up and down the time stream in both directions. Allow him in that way to drift in a dream and see himself as he dreams, as he desires to be, and then to begin to know through the exercise you have recommended that what he is doing is creating dream to be real, and understanding that physical reality is only a dream. Understand? Yes, thank you very much.
Bashar,
Hey!
how are emotions created?
Hey.
And how do we choose them? And how are they related to the will and the solar plexus?
Thank you very much. Solar plexus is what you may call the gate, or if you wish, the chakra of intention itself, of conviction, of putting it forth, of activation. And this is where emotions come in. Emotion, energy, motion. Emotion is the activator of your belief. You are a persona, a personality. Your persona, your personality is composed of three things: belief, emotion, thought. More precisely, definitional blueprints, activators of those blueprints, and the foundations or structures or thought patterns in which those blueprints are manifested physically. Emotion, all emotion, is a reaction to something you already believe to be true. That's how emotion is created. You have a belief, you have a definition, then when you activate with your energy, you then create to be alive, you activate the belief you hold most strongly. Whatever that belief is, whatever the definition is, whether it's positive or negative, will define in the activation how you experience the energy motion, the energy, the pattern becoming motionalized into physical activity. Emotions are reactions to beliefs you already have. So if you are experiencing a negative emotion, it's because it is showing you that you have a negative belief about a particular circumstance. If you do not prefer the negative emotion, then allow the negative emotion to show you you have a negative belief. Find out what the negative definition is, redefine it in a positive way, and you will start to have a positive reaction, a positive emotion, positive thought patterns, and a positive reality. It is like a prism that allows the white light of your unbroken, homogeneous consciousness to pass through and be turned into the diversified spectrum of your physical reality. Emotion is one of the sides of the prism, along with belief and thought patterns. And it is the activation principle itself. So the idea is to allow yourself to remember the following things. All circumstances, all situations are fundamentally neutral, blank, empty, devoid of meaning. No situation has a built-in meaning. You are taught to believe that certain circumstances automatically mean thus and such. And so you have a belief, and so you have an emotional reaction. When something happens and you say, I feel fear, I feel hate, I feel anger, I feel joy, I feel love, I feel happy, because of the situation, it's because of the belief you have, the meaning you have given, the definition you have created for that particular circumstance. But they are all neutral to begin with, and any situation, every situation can be defined in a positive or a negative way. Now, this does not mean that you cannot recognize when someone might actually be acting outside of integrity, might actually be performing a negative act. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to recognize that, but just recognizing it doesn't require an emotional reaction. That's just observation. Your emotional reaction is the result of exactly how you have defined the idea you are observing and how it relates to you. In that sense, therefore, you can now decide, you can now choose consciously with any situation that comes up in your life to say, well, all right, if I am reacting negatively, if I'm having negative emotion, what is the definition I would need to have in order to have that reaction? Do I prefer the definition? Is there another definition I would prefer more than this one? If so, what is it? If I have discovered what the definition is I prefer, do I believe I am capable of believing this definition as strongly as I believe the old one? If so, then I will start reacting in a positive way, for I will have realized consciously that I have just redefined my entire reality, my entire reaction to everything I have created, and therefore the entire effect that that idea has on my life, that situation has on my life. Because you see, the definition you put into a situation, which is neutral, utterly determines the effect you get out of it, experientially. Positive definition in, positive result out. Negative definition in, negative result out. Once again, it's simple physics. You see something happen, and you have a negative reaction, then you're going in with a negative belief. Again, you can recognize when somebody might be doing something negative, but that doesn't mean you have to have a negative reaction. In fact, if you wish to help the individual that is doing the negative thing to learn that they don't have to do a negative thing, you having a negative reaction is not going to help them. It's only going to mirror the negative reality they are already creating. To have an understanding, to have a reaction of balanced compassion will allow you to be able to reflect to any individuals doing a negative act that you are a centered and balanced individual, and in being so, you are giving them an opportunity to see in you, in your reflection, that they can perform and function as a balanced and centered individual as well. The whole idea hinges on the following understanding. And if you will teach this understanding to yourself and to every individual in society, especially your children, then there will be no more fear, no more hate, no more guilt, no more regret. There will be no more persecution, no more victims. And the idea is as follows. Everyone is as powerful as he or she needs to be to create any reality they desire without having to hurt anyone else or themselves in order to create it. That philosophy will reconstruct your entire civilization. Right now, the strongest philosophy your civilization has been taught is that you're out of control, you're not in control of your reality. Your life is a gamble, is a risk at best. Or you can try, but you never know at the last moment it all might come crashing down. You're not really in control. Now, how does that make you feel? Afraid, alone, scared, powerless. Individuals who commit acts of negativity against other individuals do so because they believe they are powerless. Because they believe they are, in a sense, dying. And in a sense, they feel they are sinking. And they try to take as many individuals with them as they can because they don't want to be alone. They are scared to death because they do not believe they are in control of their lives. When you teach individuals that they are, and that the circumstances that they have experienced in their life have been because of their belief, then they know they can change it. And once they know they can change it, they can do so without having to hurt anyone else to do it because they know they are a part of the infinite. And they have infinite power in that sense. The emotions that you experience in your reality, the majority of the emotions your society has experienced for thousands of years, have been the result of this dichotomy, of this idea that you are powerless people. That is where all the fear comes from, all the doubt, all the hate, all the jealousy, all the greed, all the rage. It all comes from a belief that you are powerless, that you do not have the power within, and therefore the only way you can see to gain power is to manipulate and dominate what you see outside, because you have never been taught to know that the true reality is created from within. Once you know it's created from within, you're at peace. You have compassion for all because it costs you nothing. Because the more you share, the more you get. And that emotion is the prime emotion and the only real emotion that exists. Unconditional love. That's what everything is made of. It is the prime vibration of creation. That's why when you feel love, when you're in love, you are aligned with the infinite. That's why it's so powerful. Every other emotion, in a sense, to some degree, is a condition placed on unconditional love. A variation of a feeling. In effect, the true opposite of love is not hate, it is guilt. Hate, in a sense, still implies some deservability. It may be a polarized expression of love, but it still implies that somebody deserves something, even if it's only me. Whereas guilt is the belief in complete lack of worth. And that is the truest opposite of love, which is absolute worthiness. That is what emotions are all about, basically. And all the variations basically fit into that theme. Does that explain the issue to some degree?
Yes, I have one more question regarding it. Coming from your higher self, why would you choose a negative definition?
The higher self does not choose the negative definition. The physical ego consciousness does. The higher self chooses the basic circumstance, the basic theme. But the way you go about it is determined by your physical free will. Because there are two levels of free will. The free will of the higher consciousness that chooses the basic theme you will explore, and the free will of the physical consciousness, the ego structure, that decides what to buy into as how that theme must be explored. If you buy into the idea that the only way to explore that theme is through negative definitions, that's the way you'll explore it. But if your consciousness physically can understand that you can explore it positively as well, then it can be done that way. The decision as to whether or not to explore a theme positively or negatively is left up to the free will of you as a physical consciousness. That is not determined by your higher consciousness. Understand?
I think so.
Do you wish clarification on a specific point?
Yeah. Why would the ego or the physical self then choose a negative definition?
Because it doesn't know there's any other way, as we just said. Because you are constantly taught that there is no other avenue. That it, how do you say it? Survival of the fittest. Eat or be eaten. Now, what do you think your ego is going to choose? If that's the only scenario you are given. It's going to choose to try and eat as many as it can. It's going to become as vicious and as narrow-minded as it possibly can to fight for what it has been taught is its little limited claim to existence. Understand? It's a focus of the tunnel vision, of the narrow vision that many of you have been taught physical reality represents. Here you are, this is it. Better grab all you can while you can. What's the word you say? Well, I'll stop it. Screw everyone else. That narrow vision is what creates the ego to choose the most devastating and destructive courses it can, because it thinks everyone else around it is choosing the same thing. And therefore it had better fight with the same weapon. But it doesn't understand. It has not been taught simply that water is what quenches fire. And that fighting fire with fire only makes a bigger fire and burns everything up. So the soothing of water, the soft, the compassion, the unconditional love is what you can now retrain the ego to understand. That this will bring what we desire. Oh, ego, darling, dear, love. You are not going to die if you blend with me as a whole, ego. Because the whole of our existence is not just physical, which is another thing your ego has been taught to you. That if you seek beyond your immediate physical idea, that the ego will die because it only exists in physicality. But identity exists beyond physicality. It does not have to be expressed as an ego construct. And if you can retrain the ego construct to understand that it is only the physical representation of the identity, that it is only a name, only a label, and that it is all right to expand in compassion, and the identity won't die, then the ego will not have to fight and scrape and be so negative. The only reason the ego is so negative is because it has been scared to death. That's the only reason. It chooses all those things. It has never been taught that there is anything else to choose that will allow it to survive. Does this make sense? Thank you very much. You!
Could you tell us a little bit more about the world of the cetaceans, the dolphins, and what is, you said in a previous talk that they are very evolved and they are a sort of alien race amongst us on the planet Earth.
Yes, your planet Earth, from our perspective, has two alien species, land human and water cetacean, dolphin and whale. You're on a planet with two alien races, one on land, one in the water. So they are of your world, in that sense, of course, a world unto themselves, but you are one world, and therefore the idea is to blend with them, play with them, learn with them, become one world with them, communicate with them in whatever way you find most enjoyable. They always invite you to play in the water, to learn their environment. They are highly telepathic, highly sensitive, highly emotional. In that sense, they can teach you all much about giving into ecstasy and doing what excites you the most. They offer this gift to you in your dreams many times, for that is the easiest place to communicate with you, when the idea of the ego structure is out of the way. Therefore, simply, the idea for now is to learn to play with them, to love them, and to love yourselves as they know to love themselves. That's the basic idea for now, is to form a union of one world, inclusive of the two species upon it. All right?
Thank you.
Yes?
I've been working toward a certain career goal for many years.
Oh, all right.
And
May I ask you a question before you go on?
yes,
Is it the thing that excites you the most?
I think.
All right, continue for now.
Okay. I've run across 3 obstacles.
Oh, 1, 2, 3. Nicely defined.
And that's the type of person that I am. This is where you're going to have to help me out.
Oh, all right.
I did all the planning,
Yes.
the education, and all of these things.
Yes.
Then I had the fear. The first thing was that no one would take me.
Oh, all right.
The second one was that I'd get the job, and they'd find out I was really just a fake and I'd be fired.
Oh, just a bit. All
And
right.
the third one is that now I'll get it, I'll keep it, but it won't give me the satisfaction I've been waiting for all these years.
You're very good at this.
Yeah.
Did they actually teach a course in this kind of knowledge?
I think I'm the only one that could possibly teach it, because I've been living it for a lot of years now. So,
Well, now you have brought up an interesting point, but go on.
so anyway, I've done everything. I've quit my previous job. I've put all my resources here.
All right.
I'm ready to go,
Yes.
and I'm absolutely paranoid. So I'm trying to decide if it's what I really want, or if I've just been telling myself that it's what I really want, first of all. Or second of all, how I can overcome all these other feelings to actually attain it.
All right. Well, number one, do you already understand the principle we have discussed this evening of your time, that if there is something that really excites you, then it is representative of who you are. If it is representative of who you are, there has to be an outlet in which you can express it. There has to be a stage on which you can say it somewhere in the world, and that you will attract yourself to it.
Yes.
All right. So scratch number one. Now, delineate once again the second idea.
The second idea is that I'll get the job, but once I'm there, they'll realize that I can't handle it, or I'm a fake. And then
Can't handle. All right. Define the idea of what it means to be a fake.
Well, in their eyes, I'm just not qualified.
Not qualified. All right. All right. Back to the first principle. If you know you are a certain type of being, and you are doing something that really excites you, and you develop the skills you are really excited to develop, then obviously, if you are simply staying aligned with the idea of who you are, and know, therefore, that you will only attract the job that will allow you to express just the skills you feel are your skills, how could you be under or overqualified for what you will attract? You will only be able to attract precisely the outlet that will allow you to express precisely what you are good at expressing. Therefore, you will be perfect for the job you will attract if you allow yourself to attract the job that is representative of who you are. Understand?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Scratch number 2.
Thank you.
The third one.
The third one.
You now have arrived at the idea of being able to do it, Now you're not sure it's what you want.
Yeah.
No, all right. Does anything else come to mind?
That maybe I've been looking in the wrong avenue.
All right. Well, use your imagination. Is there something else you can imagine? Are you even capable of imagining anything else that really would be more exciting? Not you.
I don't really know. And because I am such a methodical and factual type person, I don't know that I've allowed myself to find out what they might even be because I've been so focused on one thing for so long.
All right. May I ask you a question of basic parameters? Do you, in the way you consider yourself to function, do you trust yourself?
No.
All right. Why not?
I don't know.
No, all right.
I think I've never had to trust myself. Everybody's always told me what I'm supposed to do.
Correction. You have always trusted yourself. All of you have always trusted yourselves infinitely. When we talk in these dialogues about the idea of using trust, we're not talking about something you've never done. We're not talking about something you have never used before. Oh, no. Now we're talking about having to trust. Well, everyone knows that's a difficult thing to do. No. You have all, surprise, surprise, always, infinitely, absolutely trusted everything. It's just a matter of whether you trust the positive or the negative more. But you always trust. If you did not trust, you would not have an experiential reality. Because what you trust in is what you get. Understand? So, have you always trusted?
Possibly.
Let's back up. I'll reverse it. Have you always gotten an experiential reality?
Yes.
Have you always trusted?
Yes.
You've always trusted in something, haven't you?
Yes, but I tend to trust most in what I already know I can do.
Oh, all right. And sometimes you trust in doubt, don't you? All right. But the point is, the whole point is that you're always trusting in something. Yes?
Yes.
All right. If you didn't, you could not have an experiential reality. Understand?
Yes.
All right. Now, if you now understand that you have always trusted in something, what you are now saying is that there are times when you have chosen to trust in things you don't prefer to trust in, yes? All right. If you now know, I'm going about this very methodically, so you will appreciate the approach. If you now know that there are things you have chosen to trust in that you don't prefer to trust in, ask yourself, why would you then choose to trust in them? If you understand that all things are equal, all things you have ever trusted in have all been equal to anything else you have ever trusted in. They are simply different options. That's all they are. Just different options. Some of them you prefer, and some of them you don't. Preferring something or not preferring something doesn't mean they are unequal. It simply means they're different. That's all. So sometimes you have chosen, key word, chosen to trust what you don't prefer. Since you understand it was a choice, you can now understand you have just as much opportunity and just as much ability to choose what you do prefer. Since what you have chosen, that has been a choice you didn't prefer, has always manifested, why not assume that simply choosing what you do prefer will manifest just as easily? Understand? There is no more ability in a positive or a negative reality to manifest over the other.
This.
But this is just air. It's just an idea, too. It's not chiseled into the fabric of existence. Just an idea. One of the main reasons your society has this particular idea this particular difficulty is because you have been taught the following equation. This or that, rather than this and that. Okay?
I understand.
Exclusive instead of inclusive.
I have just one question.
Yes.
I hear what you say about believing it and
Yes.
thinking positively
Yes.
as opposed to negative. But I can do that for a day or two.
All right.
So how do I stay focused?
All right. Very good. How do I stay focused? Another definitional assumption. Having what I want takes stamina. As if it weren't the natural order of things. As if you have to hold on to that, otherwise it will slip away. Where do these definitions fit? Why are you defining the idea of choosing what you prefer as being difficult to maintain? Why are you choosing to define it as something you have to maintain at all? It's a choice. Once chosen, it stays. Until you choose to change it again. Understand? So if you find that your reality changes, it's not because you haven't maintained it, it's because you chose to change it. Because you believe something. Because you choose to buy into a belief that you don't prefer. Understand?
Yes.
It's not a matter of stamina. You don't need stamina. All you need to understand is that once you make a decision, it sticks until you make another decision. Because nothing else has a mind of its own. Just you.
Thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes.
When you know what?
Pardon me?
You know what?
What?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Bashar,
Yes.
in your reality, what do you do with your time in time and space?
What I'm doing now is one thing I enjoy very much. I communicate with many different worlds and assist them in their transformation. I am also, in your terminology, a technician, a pilot in that sense. I explore and discover many other civilizations. I am also interested in exploring many other dimensions of reality. Also, I like sculpture and many other expressions of what you would call art. I am fascinated by quite a lot of things at different points, and I simply act on them spontaneously when, as you say, the Spirit moves me. That is what I do with my time. Understand?
Yes.
Does that answer the question sufficiently?
Thank you for sharing.
We thank you very much. At this time, allow us to extend to each and every one of you, once again, our unconditional love, our joy, our deepest appreciation for allowing us to experience the loving gift, the taste of your consciousness. It is cherished by all of us. We thank you for sharing and co-creating the dream that we are together. Remember, you are dreaming right now. Right now. Wake up and live the dream you prefer to. It's your choice. It always has been, and it always will be. Because you are made in the image of the infinite Creator. And that means you are infinite creators too. We thank you for your sharing our love to you all. Exciting dream lives and life dreams. A fond and loving. Good day. Oh. How'd it go?
Oh boy.